Sagittarius, you will be the center of attention in an important place. Watch out for the eyes on you. Have you felt it lately? That subtle shift in the air, like all eyes are slowly turning in your direction, even before you've made a move. It's not just intuition, it's energy, and that energy is gathering around you, preparing you for a moment of truth, of recognition, of visibility. Not just in passing, but in a space that carries real weight. You were never meant to be hidden. You were born with a cosmic flame that refuses to be ignored. But now the universe is preparing something even bolder. You are about to step into the center of a conversation that could alter the direction of your life. And while some of the gazes will be warm and supportive, others may carry judgment, envy, or quiet challenge. This isn't a warning. It's a reminder. Your light has power, and your presence has impact. The question is, are you prepared to be seen for who you truly are? Not the version you curate, but the version that radiates when you're fully alive, aligned, and unapologetically yourself. This is not just another reading. This is your cosmic moment of readiness. And if something inside you already recognizes what I'm saying, then like, share, and subscribe to Zodiac Wisdom, because together we're not just predicting change, we're embodying it. Let's begin. Gate 1, seen for a reason. When the room notices you before you speak. Sagittarius, your energy has never been quiet. Even in silence, you hum with potential. Even when you try to blend in, the universe seems to conspire to place you exactly where people notice. Why? Because your presence isn't accidental. And now, more than ever, you're being called to understand what it means to truly carry that visibility. This June, something shifts. It won't be dramatic at first, but it will be undeniable. You'll walk into a room, a conversation, a meeting, and feel it in your skin before your mind can name it. They're watching me. And they are. But not just with admiration. Not just with curiosity. Some will watch you with genuine hope. Some with cautious evaluation. And yes, some with quiet envy. But they all feel what you're becoming, even before you fully do. You're not just being seen. You're being evaluated. Your energy, your leadership, your authenticity, these are being weighed by the universe and, whether consciously or not, by the people around you. And this is not meant to scare you, Sagittarius. It's meant to remind you. You are in the process of stepping into something greater. In the workplace, you may find yourself suddenly at the center of a project, asked to present, or pulled into discussions with higher-ups. And it won't be because you asked for it. It'll be because your name was mentioned when you weren't in the room. Sagittarius, the most important decisions about your future may already be happening in conversations you don't even know about. And what's being said? That you've changed, that your ideas carry weight, that your presence shifts the room. One Sagittarius client I worked with, a creative strategist, had always felt overlooked in corporate settings. Not because she lacked ability, but because she often downplayed her fire to avoid being too much. But one day, during a large planning session, she spoke up, just once. Her words landed with such resonance that days later, an executive invited her to lead an initiative that would double her responsibilities and her visibility. Her first instinct was fear. What if I'm not ready? But her second instinct was truth. What if I've always been ready, and only now allowed myself to be seen? Sagittarius, this is your moment like that. The universe is placing you in environments of influence, not to test your perfection, but to reveal your readiness. And with that visibility comes complexity. Not all eyes will be kind. Some will misread your confidence as arrogance. Some will question your motives. Some may even try to provoke reactions that dim your light. But remember this. When your fire is real, it doesn't need to rage. It simply warms everything it touches. Your challenge is not to shine. You do that naturally. Your challenge is to stay grounded while shining, to lead without overpowering, to inspire without needing applause. This is higher level fire. It's not performative. It's magnetic. Now is the time to become intimately familiar with your own presence. How do you walk into a room? How do you carry your voice? How do you respond to pressure when you know others are watching? Not to perform, but to practice self-awareness. Because those who shine with clarity do not burn out. They radiate. And this brings us to an even deeper layer. Are you emotionally ready for what your energy now attracts? Because when your vibration rises, so does your influence. People begin to reflect back to you their own insecurities, projections, hopes, and fears. You must learn to distinguish between the eyes that truly see you and those that only seek to measure you. This doesn't mean closing your heart. It means expanding your discernment. You may notice strange shifts. Coworkers suddenly wanting your opinion more often, superiors placing quiet expectations on you, friends reacting differently, sometimes supportively, sometimes with subtle distance. This is not about them. It's about the field of energy you are emitting now. It's stronger, clearer, and yes, it's being noticed. Sagittarius, you are not meant to shrink in the face of attention. You are meant to transform in it. The coming weeks will ask you to claim your voice in situations where you would have stayed quiet before. It might be in a family setting, where your presence becomes the grounding force in a difficult moment. It might be at a social event, where you speak a truth that others hesitate to name, and earn silent respect for it. It might even be online, where your message finally reaches the eyes and hearts of people who needed it most. Whatever form it takes, understand this: you are not being placed in the center by accident. You are being positioned with purpose, and with purpose comes power. But it must be a power rooted in your values. You don't need to prove yourself with cleverness or volume. The people who matter are watching something much deeper: your consistency, your grace, your emotional intelligence, and your willingness to share space even when you're the one lighting the room. Because in truth, Sagittarius, leadership isn't about dominance. It's about resonance. When you speak, does it ring true? When you act, do people feel safer, stronger, more awake because of you? These are the markers of true presence, and this is what you're now being trained to hold. Let this next chapter be your initiation into rooms you never expected to enter, into conversations you didn't know you were ready for, into roles that stretch you, yes, but also reveal you. And remember, you don't have to be perfect to lead. You just have to be real. The fire of Sagittarius isn't here to blind. It's here to guide. So when the eyes fall on you, and they will, meet them with poise, with truth, and with the quiet confidence of someone who didn't force the spotlight, but earned it simply by being exactly who they are. Gate 2: the shadow of the spotlight. When your light makes others blink. Sagittarius, you've always known that standing out comes with a price. You wear your fire with pride, and yet, you've felt it before. That quiet resistance from others, the subtle shift in tone when your name carries too much weight, or the way a room changes when your energy expands too far for comfort. Now that you're being called into greater visibility, the shadows will appear too. Not because you are doing anything wrong, but because light always casts a shadow. And when your light is bright, the contrast is impossible to ignore. This is the part few people prepare you for. You will be seen, yes, but not always with admiration. Some will see your courage and feel inspired. Others will see your light and feel exposed. In their discomfort, they may misinterpret your confidence as arrogance. They may question your motives. They may shrink from your presence, or worse, quietly try to shrink you. And this is where the deeper initiation begins. Can you hold your center when others are unsure of theirs? Can you stay open-hearted when admiration turns into critique? Or when the very people who once cheered you on begin to question your shine? There's a particular loneliness that comes when your light outgrows the roles others once knew you for. Friends may grow distant. Colleagues may start acting differently. Even loved ones may unconsciously pull away, sensing change but not yet understanding it. This is not because you've betrayed them. It's because you're evolving. And sometimes that evolution threatens the comfort others have in who they believe you to be. But hear this, Sagittarius. You do not owe anyone the version of you that keeps them comfortable. You were not born to stay small to keep others at ease. I once worked with a Sagittarius man, kind-hearted, wildly creative, who had just been offered a promotion that would put him on a national stage in his industry. It was a dream come true. And yet, after accepting the role, he noticed something shifting in his circle. A mentor who once championed him became distant. Colleagues grew cold. Even close friends made passive comments like, "Don't forget who you were before all this." He was crushed. For a while he considered stepping down. Not because he lacked the skill, but because he didn't want to lose the relationships he loved. But in time he realized something profound. He wasn't losing them because of his success. He was outgrowing the stories they had written for him. And when he finally owned his light without apology, the right people stayed. The rest gently fell away. Sagittarius, this may be happening to you too. When you are the one who is rising, not everyone can rise with you. Some will resist, not because they don't care about you, but because your expansion triggers their own sense of inadequacy. That is not yours to carry. You were never responsible for shrinking your potential to fit inside someone else's story. So when those uncomfortable moments come, when someone says something dismissive, or when silence replaces support, do not collapse. Do not dim. Do not apologize for evolving. Instead, return to your center. Ask yourself, who am I becoming? What does my future require of me? And who do I need to be, consistently, gently, powerfully, to walk toward it with clarity? Your higher path will not always come with applause. It will not always feel fair, but it will always feel true. And in that truth, you will find the soul allies, the unexpected supporters, and the deepened self-trust that no external validation can replace. Because here's the secret, Sagittarius. The people who truly see you will not be blinded by your brilliance. They will be warmed by it. And the ones who withdraw, let them go. Not with anger, but with gratitude. Their role in your life may have simply reached its natural conclusion. Their chapter ends so yours can begin in full. Let this be the moment where you stop negotiating with fear. Stop playing small just to stay safe. You are not here to be palatable. You are here to be true. And yes, your light may cause discomfort, but it also causes awakening. And that is what makes you unforgettable. So hold your head high. Soften your heart without surrendering your power. Speak with clarity. Move with purpose. And when the shadows appear, simply say, even my shadow is proof that I shine. You were never meant to be liked by everyone. You were meant to liberate those who are ready to rise with you. And the rest? Let them watch you rise. And remember what it means to be unapologetically alive. Gate 3. The one who sees your soul without asking for a mask. Sagittarius, for all your love of freedom, for all the adventures you've chased and the philosophies you've built to make sense of life, your heart has always been seeking one thing. A connection that feels like home. Not a home that locks you in, but one that expands as you do. Throughout your life, love may have come with conditions, timelines, or mismatched rhythms. You've loved with fire, with truth, with the best of your intentions, only to feel misunderstood or worse, like you had to choose between yourself and the relationship. But now, something sacred is shifting. You are ready for a different kind of love. Not the one that burns bright and fades. Not the one that mirrors your wounds, but the one that reflects your soul's wholeness. The kind of love that arrives not as a test, but as a reminder that you are lovable in your fullness, not in your edited form. And when it comes, Sagittarius, it may not look like what you expected. It may not be wild or dramatic. It may not sweep you off your feet or declare itself in fireworks. It might arrive quietly, in the form of a gaze that holds you, a conversation that lingers, a silence that feels safe. And suddenly you'll know. This isn't chemistry, it's recognition. I once worked with a Sagittarius woman in her 50s who had lived boldly, traveled across continents, built 2 businesses, raised children. She was powerful, passionate, and beautifully independent. But deep down, she told me she had given up on the idea of true romantic connection. They either want to tame me, she said, or they disappear when they see my full flame. And then out of nowhere, she met someone in a bookstore. A quiet man with eyes like still water. He didn't interrupt her story. He listened. He asked questions that weren't performative. He didn't try to impress her, he saw her. And she said, for the first time, I didn't feel the need to prove I was worthy of love. I just was. Sagittarius, this is what your soul is calling in now. Not attachment. Alignment. A love that flows at your rhythm. A partner who doesn't compete with your independence, but honors it. Someone who isn't afraid of your fire, and doesn't need you to tone it down. And here's the truth most never say out loud. Soul love doesn't always come when you're at your best. Sometimes it comes when you've finally surrendered. When you're raw, tired, unguarded, and still you're loved. Not for your potential, but for your presence. That's what you're moving toward. Or if you're already in a relationship, it's what you're being asked to deepen into. This chapter of your life isn't about surface attraction. It's about emotional resonance. Can you share your fears without shame? Can you hold space for your partner's complexity without controlling it? Can you co-create a relationship where truth matters more than comfort? Because when you do, when you step into love as your whole self, you create a kind of union that becomes a mirror of your evolution. And yes, it may stretch you, because it won't let you hide behind charm. It will call forth the parts of you that still believe love must be earned. It will dissolve those stories, gently but firmly. And in their place, it will build something holy, a bond that grows from shared inner freedom. Sagittarius, your nature was never meant for possession. You don't fall in love with cages. You fall in love with space, with vision, with energy that makes your spirit feel seen, not owned. And this love? It will feel like oxygen, but you must prepare for it, not by searching for it, but by becoming the version of you that is ready to receive it. That means softening your defenses, naming the old wounds without letting them drive the story, choosing vulnerability when you'd rather run, truly believing that you no longer have to fight to be loved. Because real love doesn't arrive with demands. It arrives with reverence. And whether it appears through a new person or a sacred transformation within an existing bond, one thing is certain. You are now ready for a love that mirrors your soul, not your survival. Let your heart open, not blindly, but bravely. Let your soul speak before your fear has time to interrupt. Because when this love finds you, and it will change not just your relationship status, but the frequency of your entire life. You've lived wild. Now you get to love wide. Gate 4, the sacred mirror of purpose. When visibility becomes a spiritual assignment. Sagittarius, the light you carry isn't only personal. It is purposeful. You were never meant to simply be seen, you were meant to be seen for something. For your truth. For your boldness. For the way your presence ignites questions in others they've been too afraid to ask themselves. That is your gift. That is your sacred role in this chapter of your life. But here's what no one tells you. Visibility, when aligned with purpose, becomes a kind of spiritual assignment. It's no longer just about being impressive. It's about being impactful. Not louder but clearer. Not bigger but deeper. In the weeks ahead, you may find yourself at the intersection of influence and intention. Maybe someone reaches out and asks for your guidance. Maybe you're given the mic at an event you once only dreamed of attending. Maybe a younger version of you, in another's eyes, seeks answers to questions you once had to figure out alone. And that's when it becomes clear. This isn't just about your journey anymore. This is about becoming the mirror. The mirror that reflects what's possible. The mirror that shows others the permission they've been waiting for. The mirror that says, you can be radiant and real, brave and broken, seen and still sacred. Sagittarius, this is the evolution of your fire. Not just an inner glow but a guiding light. One that others will follow, not because you ask them to, but because your path speaks to something inside them that has long been silent. But here's the responsibility that comes with it. Authenticity must stay rooted in humility. Power must stay tethered to compassion. And above all, purpose must be guided by soul, not ego. You may feel moments of doubt. You may wonder, why me? You may even feel the weight of leadership pressing on parts of you that still feel unfinished. But trust this. The universe does not make mistakes with timing. If you are being called now, it's because something in you is ready, whether or not your mind agrees. And the beauty is, this isn't a call to perfection. It's a call to alignment. There will be people watching you not to criticize but to learn. There will be those drawn to your words. Not because you have all the answers, but because your honesty makes space for theirs. There will be sacred echoes in your conversations. Serendipitous alignments. A moment of eye contact that feels like lifetimes in one glance. And you will know. You are not just influencing outcomes. You are shifting energy. This, dear Sagittarius, is what true leadership looks like in the age of awakening. Not dominance, not control, but presence, clarity, soul. And as you walk this path, you'll start to notice something miraculous. The very spaces that once felt too small will begin to stretch for you. The very doubts that once haunted you will dissolve in the warmth of your own self-trust. And those who were meant to walk with you, not behind, not ahead, but beside, you will find their way without you needing to chase. You don't need a title to have purpose. You don't need applause to have impact. You don't need everyone to believe in you to believe in yourself. You just need to answer the call. Because when you do, your visibility becomes vision. Your fire becomes focus. and your life becomes a sacred mirror for others to awaken through. Let us now move into the conclusion, where all that has been revealed comes into integration. Conclusion: you are not becoming the fire. You are remembering it. Sagittarius, take a deep breath. You've journeyed through recognition and resistance, through longing and liberation, through power and presence. And now, you arrive at a truth that has always waited patiently for you beneath every triumph and every test. You were never becoming someone new. You were always returning to someone ancient, yourself. That self was never small. It was simply sleeping beneath layers of performance, protection, and pain. But now, you are awake. This is not a chapter of reinvention. This is a chapter of remembrance. Remembrance of your power. Remembrance of your purpose. Remembrance of a love that meets you exactly where you are. Not for what you do, but for who you are becoming when you are most honest, most free, most whole. You don't need to fight to be seen anymore. You don't need to perform to be valued. You don't need to dim to be loved. You walk toward truth now, not away from it. And while some may misunderstand your clarity, mislabel your confidence, or even resist your rise, do not retreat. The people meant for your future will recognize the glow of your becoming and stand beside you, not beneath or above, but in sacred alignment. You are no longer here to seek safety in invisibility. You are here to shine from the soul out and invite others into that radiance, not through force but by example. Because Sagittarius, you were never just meant to light your own path. You are here to become the torch for others still searching for theirs. So stand tall, not in arrogance but in awareness. Speak clearly, not for applause but for alignment. Love deeply, not because you've earned it but because you now remember. You were always worthy of it. And if you ever forget again, and you might return to this moment, to this voice, to this truth, you are not too much. You are just enough fire to change everything. And that change begins the moment you choose to believe it. Let them watch. Let them wonder. Let them witness the quiet revolution of a soul that finally said yes to its calling. You don't rise to prove anything. You rise because you were born to,